5 signs a person doesn't just hate you, they want you dead. The most frightening thing is not someone who openly hates you. You can see it in their eyes, hear their words, and know precisely where the boundary lies. The real danger comes from those standing beside you, smiling, shaking your hand, even congratulating you. While inside, they quietly count each step to drag you to the bottom. Do you think you will recognize them? Wrong. These people never reveal their intentions until it is already too late. They do not show hatred. They show concern. They do not play the enemy. They play the ally. And precisely because of that, they get closer than anyone else. Imagine one morning you are having your usual coffee. You have met someone at the following table a few times who was coincidentally present there. Then a few days later, they show up at your gym. The following week at the supermarket you often shop at. You call it a coincidence, they call it a plan. The truth is, some people do not want you to fail. They want you to disappear from the picture entirely, that your career, relationships, reputation, and even your existence. And if you do not learn to recognize these signs, you will only realize you are a target when you are already in the middle of the trap. If you hear these words, I want you to do a straightforward thing. Subscribe to the channel now, not because I want to increase the numbers, but because here, every video is a map to help you identify hidden dangers before they can reach you. And right now, we will begin with the first sign of clue that often appears in the place you least expect. There is a truth most people do not want to face. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you to be happy, and not everyone who seems to help you truly wants you to move forward. We are taught to recognize open enemies, those who criticize you to your face, speak badly about you in public, or refuse to cooperate with you. But we are rarely equipped to recognize a much more dangerous type, the one who wants to eliminate you, but does it silently and with a smile. The difference between hating you and wanting you gone lies in the final goal. Someone who hates you may only want to see you struggle, face a few obstacles, or fail in a project. But someone who wants you gone plays a long game. They do not stop at one blow, they want to destroy the entire foundation. They will break your supportive relationships, damage your reputation, and strip you of every pillar you rely on. And the danger here is that they do not act on sudden emotions. They act on a carefully calculated strategy. Like a predator stalking its prey, they patiently watch, gather information, test your reactions, then choose the perfect moment to strike when you are tired, off guard, or isolated. In Stoic philosophy, Epictetus once said, "The wise man not only observes others, but also keeps order within his mind." This means that when you notice someone appearing repeatedly in your life in unusual ways, or interfering in your life uninvited, you must ask questions. Not every gesture of care comes from goodwill. This video is not meant to sow fear. The goal is to equip you with a filter so that when someone tries to step into your safe circle, you can look at them cautiously. You cannot control what others think or do, but you can control who has the right to access your information, time, and energy. Consider this a map. Each upcoming sign is a warning milestone. One sign may not be enough to conclude, but the more signs appear together, the greater the danger. And recognizing these milestones early can be the difference between protecting your safety and becoming a cautionary tale for others. In the next few minutes, I will share with you 5 signs analyzed from the perspective of psychology, real-life experience, and the proactive living philosophy of Stoicism. I will not reuse familiar examples. Instead, you will hear stories in situations you might encounter in everyday life, from the workplace to neighbors to personal relationships that seem harmless. And now let's begin with the first sign, something that often hides inside the most good actions, but is the most dangerous way for someone to enter your private world. Sign 1, unusual interest. The real danger doesn't always show up as attacks or open actions. It comes under the guise of concern. Not the usual kind of concern, but the kind that digs deep into your personal life, every small detail, until they know you better than some of your closest friends. Alex worked at a marketing firm in Chicago. Last fall, the company hired a new employee named Jason. Jason was extremely friendly, from the first day smiling, joking, offering coffee, and conversing with anyone. At first, Alex thought, that's fine, a friendly new coworker will make the office more pleasant. However, within a few weeks, Jason already knew things Alex had never shared at work. He mentioned a local coffee shop Alex often visited on Monday mornings, even though Alex had never discussed it in the office. He asked, "You still running on the lakefront favorite trail in the mornings?" A habit Alex had never told anyone at work about. Then the coincidences began. Jason showed up at the same Starbucks as Alex on Monday mornings. He appeared at Alex's gym on Friday nights. Alex even saw Jason at the farmer's market, which he usually went to on Saturday mornings. Jason had a perfectly reasonable explanation each time: I just moved into the area, or I was meeting a friend nearby. But after 5-6 of these coincidences, Alex felt something wasn't right. I call this systematic proximity, when someone appears in your personal space so often that it's no longer random. They're not just accidentally bumping into you. They're tracking your habits, mapping your schedule, and finding your weak points. From a psychological perspective, this is the data gathering phase. Someone with ill intent rarely begins with a shocking act. They start with information. The more they know about your daily life, the easier it becomes to predict your behavior, choose the perfect moment to catch you off guard, or step in when you're most vulnerable. Stoic philosophy offers a warning here. Epictetus once said, "If it is unnecessary, don't say it." Not everyone deserves to know every detail about you. Even in casual conversation, oversharing can unintentionally hand someone the exact tools they need to harm you later. Signs of unusual interest. 1. They remember and bring up small details you only mentioned once long ago. 2. They ask location-based questions. What time do you usually go to the gym? Where do you usually go on weekends? 3. They coincidentally show up in multiple places you frequent with reasonable-sounding explanations that happen too often. 4. They prefer to chat in private rather than around others, making it easier for you to open up. How to protect yourself. Give vague answers when someone you don't fully trust asks about your schedule or habits. Avoid posting your real-time location on social media. If you want to share, do it after the event has ended. Try giving harmless bait information, for example, saying you'll be at a different coffee shop, and see if they show up there. Trust your instincts. If your gut feeling about someone is off, don't ignore it. This doesn't mean you should be suspicious of everyone. It means you should control access. The fewer people who know exactly where you are, what you're doing, and with whom, the less chance there is for unwanted interference. And once they've gathered enough information, many will use it for the next step, shaping how others see you. That's the second sign where the battle is no longer between you and them, but between you and the distorted image they've created of you. Sign 2. Controlling the story about you. One of the most subtle tactics used by those who want to bring you down is not to confront you directly, but to control the story others hear about you. They don't need to discredit you to your face. They do it when you're not there, in conversations you're not invited to, and within groups you don't even realize have made you their main topic. Picture this. You work at a company in New York, and a colleague named Rachel begins telling others that you seem stressed, haven't been focused lately, or look like you've lost motivation. It sounds as if she's concerned about you, but it's a way of planting doubt in people's minds. With just a few vague remarks like this, those around you will start to view you through a different lens, and worse, you have no idea it's happening. In psychology, this is called the seeding effect. When someone skillfully drops tiny pieces of negative information about you, they can slowly accumulate into a bad impression over time. The listeners may not remember the details, but will feel that something is off about you. People who want you gone will use this tactic to attack your support network. They might tell your boss you're not as enthusiastic as before, while telling colleagues you're dealing with personal issues. To friends, they might hint that you've changed or become distant. Each group gets a different piece of the story, but all of it serves one purpose: to isolate you. In the US, this is especially dangerous in competitive work environments. A distorted story can cost you a promotion and remove you from a significant project or lower your standing in meetings you're not part of. Outside of work, it can erode the trust of friends or cause family members to doubt you without knowing why. Stoic philosophy views this issue through the lens of actively protecting your reputation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Live as if all your actions are visible and let none become a weapon against you." This means you can't fully control what others say, but you can take charge of the evidence that reflects who you truly are. Signs someone is controlling the story about you. 1. Multiple people start treating you differently for reasons you can't identify. 2. You hear information about yourself that you never shared or that's been twisted. 3. Unexpected conflicts or distance arise in relationships that were previously stable. 4. One person always seems to be present around misunderstandings or disputes involving you, yet is never the one being blamed. How to protect yourself. Document everything, save emails, messages, and make notes of key events. Build a strong personal reputation, maintain professionalism and reliability so that when someone tries to smear you, others are less likely to believe it. Connect directly with key people. Don't let them hear about you only through others. Limit sharing sensitive information with those who don't need to know, even when you're feeling emotionally vulnerable. One poorly timed comment can undo years of reputation building in an American workplace. And once your support network starts to weaken you, become an easier target for the next step, they position themselves as the only person you can rely on. And that leads us to sign 3, when the enemy pretends to be your closest friend, creating unusual closeness to gain deeper access into your life. Sign 3, unusual closeness. When someone wants to control or destroy you, they don't always appear as an open enemy. Sometimes they appear as a deeply caring friend, a friendly colleague, or a person who is always there when you face hardship. But behind that layer of closeness lies another intention. They want to penetrate deeper into your life, to gather information and find your weak points. Imagine you've just gone through a breakup in Los Angeles. A colleague named Mark, who previously only exchanged polite greetings, suddenly stops by your desk, often invites you to lunch, and constantly texts to check in. On the surface, Mark seems like a kind person, but after only a few weeks, you realize that private details you shared with him have somehow made their way into the mouths of others. Stranger still, these details always seem to come with some embellishment that makes your image less favorable. This is a psychological tactic known as ingratiation for intel. When someone wants you to trust them, they will make you feel like they are the only one who truly understands you. They will empathize, nod along, and share a few personal stories of their own so you feel safe opening up. But every detail you share becomes a potential bullet they can use against you later. Stoic philosophy reminds us through Epictetus, do not hand over the keys to your house to a stranger, and do not hand over your mind to someone who has not proven themselves worthy. In the modern context, this means not letting emotions trick you into giving your entire story to someone who has only recently appeared close. Signs that unusual closeness might be a trap. 1. The person suddenly spends much time with you despite not being close before. 2. They repeatedly ask about your feelings, plans, or personal details unrelated to them. 3. You feel pressured to share information to be polite, or because they seem overly concerned. 4. Some info you only shared with them ends up being known elsewhere. Why is this tactic dangerous? Because it lowers your guard. When a skilled manipulator succeeds in making you believe they are on your side, you voluntarily drop your defenses and give them access to the most critical aspects of your life: your mindset, finances, personal relationships, and even professional secrets. Once they have enough data, they can distort it, misuse it, or release it at the moment that causes you the most harm. How to protect yourself. Keep clear personal boundaries. No one you've known for just a few weeks needs to know everything about your life. Observe actions, not just words. Someone who truly cares won't rush to intrude into every corner of your life. Share selectively if you're unsure. Try giving a non-important piece of information and see how they handle it. Maintain diverse connections. Don't become emotionally dependent on one person, especially when the relationship is new. In American social settings where personal and professional relationships often overlap, a new person suddenly becoming your confidant can be a red flag. Someone who truly respects you will also respect the space you need to feel safe. And once you recognize this sign, you'll start to see the pattern. These people often pair unusual closeness with another tactic isolating you from essential relationships. That's sign 4, when they don't just want access to you, but want to cut off the bridges that connect you to your sources of strength and support. Sign 4, deliberately isolating you from your support network. Once they have established unusual closeness, the next step for someone who truly wants to destroy you is not to attack you head-on immediately. Instead, they will gradually separate you from those who can protect, support, or warn you. This is a classic manipulation tactic, isolating the target to make them easier to control. In American life, this can happen in very subtle ways. For example, you have just started a new job in New York and have grown closer to a colleague named Rachel. She frequently invites you to lunch, confides in you about everything, and seems genuinely caring. But then you notice that whenever you mention meeting up with old friends or other colleagues, Rachel drops a comment that plants doubt. I heard Sarah talks badly about you behind your back, or John might seem friendly, but he's not trustworthy. At first, these remarks sound like concern, as if Rachel is protecting you. But in reality, she's chipping away at your trust in others. Over time, you start meeting your old friends, less avoiding deeper conversations with colleagues, and eventually Rachel becomes your only support point. Through the words of Marcus Aurelius, Stoic philosophy reminds us, beware of those who try to remove you from the community, for human beings were not born to live alone, but to build together. When someone pushes you to cut off essential relationships, it often reflects their desire to control all your sources of information and emotion. Sign someone is deliberately isolating you. 1. They regularly plant doubts about people close to you. 2. They make you feel guilty for spending time with others. 3. They try to insert themselves into your plans or gatherings to manage the atmosphere. 4. You find yourself interacting less and less with family or trusted friends. Why is this such a dangerous strategy? Because when you lose your support network, you become more vulnerable to manipulation than ever. In psychology, this is called erasing social resources, cutting off a person's emotional, informational, and practical support systems, forcing them to rely entirely on the manipulator. Once isolated, you no longer have anyone to verify the truth, offer objective advice, or help you in a crisis. How to protect yourself. Identify doubt planning behavior early if someone consistently speaks badly of or makes you suspicious of everyone else. Question their true motives. Maintain multiple circles of connection. Don't let your relationship with one person cost you contact with other groups. Keep records if someone distorts information or stirs up conflict. Having proof will help you face the truth later. Keep your choices. Someone who respects you will not pressure or guilt you into avoiding others. In American society where personal, professional, and community relationships are often intertwined, being isolated doesn't just weaken you in your personal life, it can also undermine your career. A colleague or new best friend actively removing others from your life may not simply be selfish. It may be part of their preparation to manipulate, control, or harm you. And when you notice yourself being gradually cut off from your support network, it's time to pay attention to another sign that often goes hand in hand with this strategy. They begin spreading false information about you. This will be sign 5 when they turn your story into a weapon to destroy your reputation and standing systematically. Sign 5, spreading false information to destroy your reputation. If isolating you from your support network is the tilling of the soil, then spreading false information is when they plant the poisonous seeds in the environment around you. This subtle, dangerous strategy is often complex to detect until the damage has already taken root. In American society, where personal reputation directly impacts career opportunities, relationships, and even your public image on social media, someone deliberately spreading falsehoods about you is not just being mean-spirited, it's a calculated attack. Picture this. You've just launched a small business in Seattle. A friend you once trusted starts telling others that you're financially unreliable and once broke a promise to a client even though it never happened. These stories don't appear in public all at once. They start as whispers, as I heard comments in small gatherings, or as vague suggestive remarks on Facebook or LinkedIn. And like a toxic smoke, they spread, causing people who once trusted you to begin keeping their distance. Why is this a sign that they want to destroy you rather than dislike you? Because simple dislike might lead them to avoid you or cut contact. But when someone invests time and effort into deliberately creating and spreading false information, that's intentional behavior aimed at long-term harm. In psychology, this is called character assassination. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone distorts the truth about you, remember the truth will stand, but only if you persist in holding it." This means that instead of reacting impulsively, you need a strategy to protect your reputation and prevent them from controlling the narrative. Ways they may spread false information. 1. Distorting the truth. Taking a piece of real information and twisting the context to make you look worse. 2. Complete fabrication. Creating events that never happened, but telling them with certainty so others believe. 3. Targeting known weaknesses. If they know of a minor mistake from your past, they exaggerate it into being your true nature. 4. Leveraging social media. A vague comment or an implied status update can make dozens of people doubt you without evidence. Consequences of this strategy: loss of credibility. Career opportunities, collaborations, or promotions are affected. Psychological stress. Feeling trapped when you can't control the story being spread. Loss of trust from acquaintances. Even unintentionally, some will believe what they've heard repeated often enough. How to protect yourself. Keep records and evidence, emails, messages, or anything that proves the truth. Respond strategically. Avoid rushing into an emotional confrontation. Choose the right moment and platform to clarify. Build a reputation shield. Maintain healthy relationships and a strong track record, so those who know you aren't easily swayed when bad news appears. Remove yourself from the rumor cycle. Don't feed it with overreactions. Sometimes timely silence makes the rumor die alone. In the modern American environment, where a single tweet or TikTok can spread instantly, someone intentionally putting out false information about you isn't just gossip, it's an attack aimed at your future. Once you realize you're the target of this tactic, you need to review all the previous signs to connect the bigger picture. They don't just dislike you, they want to erase you. And when it reaches this stage, the wisest thing a Stoic can do is remain calm, protect the truth, and be ready to cut all ties with the instigator. As Seneca once said, "Not every battle requires swords. Some only require you to walk away and let them collapse independently." Summary of 5 signs. When they don't just hate you, they want to remove you completely. Looking back at all 5 signs, you'll see these are not isolated actions. They form a systematic chain of strategies. Step by step, they erode your inner strength while dismantling the environment around you so you no longer have a foothold. Sign 1, they cross every personal boundary to control or manipulate you. This is when you realize the problem is no longer conflict, but an effort to take over your autonomy. Sign 2, they attack what you value most: family, career, core principles. Not to debate, but to cause deep and lasting harm. Sign 3, they work to diminish you in front of others, twisting your image into something distorted in the eyes of your community. Sign 4, they isolate you from those who support you, cutting off your sources of emotional strength so you become easier to control. Sign 5, they spread false information actively, destroying your reputation, a strike that can echo for years. Each sign is a single cut, but together they form the complete picture of deliberate destruction. And if you find yourself experiencing 3 or more of these signs, there's a high chance the other person doesn't just want to win an argument, they want to remove you from the game entirely. Lesson from a Stoic perspective. Epictetus once said, "No one can harm you unless you give them permission." This doesn't mean ignoring attacks, but holding the power over your response. A Stoic doesn't fight in anger, nor do they let fear guide them. Instead, they face reality, assess the situation rationally, and act from a place of stability in every situation. 1. Identify the threat clearly. Don't ignore it or comfort yourself with, "Everything will be fine," when the signs are apparent. 2. Protect your boundaries. A boundary crossed without consequence only invites further violations. 3. Rebuild your support network proactively. If you've been isolated, take the initiative to reconnect and build trust with the right people. 4. Protect the truth in your reputation. Your reputation is an asset to be guarded with clarity and strategy. A Stoic understands that calmness is not passivity. It is an active strength, a deliberate choice to stay out of someone else's spiral. If what you've heard today makes you realize someone in your life is deliberately crossing every limit, remember this: you owe them no second chance. Not everyone deserves your forgiveness, and no one has the right to destroy your peace. Protect your boundaries. Take back control of your story, and most importantly, don't stay silent to keep the peace when that silence is burning you from the inside. If you want to learn to be calm without being passive, steady, without losing your humanity, continue the journey with us. The next video will show you how to use silence as a weapon that the other side can't counter. Don't forget to subscribe to Sovereign Stoic now, because this is not just a place to hear stories, it's where you learn how to stand firm in a chaotic world.